Okay, back to answering questions. Now today I'm going to take about 21 questions here again. So let's see, leaving off from, let's see, JXZ 107. All right, let's see, here we go. Okay, what dialect is your Korean from? I can't really tell the difference between them yet. What languages do you consider to be international, and do you consider less common ones to be just as important for use in a country that doesn't use it? What languages do you think would be adequate for me? A Korean who has fluent English in a functional sense. Do you ever have stress due to learning so much? Okay, dialect. The Korean that I've learned is pretty much just the standard dialect. I don't know any other dialect of Korean. It's just the standard Korean spoken in Seoul. Um, what language do you consider to be international? English will be international, of course. I think Spanish will be international. Chinese is getting there, like international. Pretty much those very common languages will be considered international, but mainly Spanish and English. Definitely English because everyone has to learn English like all around. So, well, not everyone, but majority of people they have to learn English. Let's see, what language do you think would be adequate for me? Well, it all depends on you. I can't really make that decision for you and tell you which language would be adequate for you. It all depends on which language you're interested in. Which languages do you feel like feel very interested to learn, or if they'll benefit you? So I can't really make that decision for you. I would say learn any language, but it all depends on what type of language you're interested in learning. So, do you ever have stress due to learning so much? Nope, I have no stress. No stress. That's the thing. Like, despite learning like all these languages and whatnot, I don't get stressed out at all. I don't get stressed out even at the beginning stages. Perhaps it's because I learned a few languages. Like, I have experience learning a few languages, and it just gets easier, and I know how to do it. So that like reduces the stress. I don't get stressed out at all. No stress at all for learning these languages. Let me see. Let's see here. Okay, that's it for that. And let's see, Nigaldo 8. You have a guide to explain your method. Yeah, I have a guide. I actually have it featured on my YouTube page, my channel. You can go see that, and I have it posted on how to learn any language. That's pretty much the method I follow for learning my languages. Happy Zen, how do you separate all the languages in your head and not get them mixed up? 3 languages is already a lot. Yeah, that's true. I think once you get like a strong foundation in whatever language you're studying, once you get like a strong foundation, it's pretty hard to mix them up. It's pretty hard to mix them up. But there are certain languages, they are so close, like you may get some use like some certain words from, like, for example, Korean and Japanese. I think this happened to me before. I was speaking to a Korean person, and I noticed I was using Japanese stuff, mixing Japanese with Korean because it's so similar. Other than that, it doesn't really happen often, so it's not really that hard to separate those languages. So let's see. Okay, Sora Naga. Okay, Sora Naga. What are your hobbies outside of language learning? You guys probably know I love to play video games, but lately I haven't really had the time to play as much. Play video games, and I like to go fishing. I love to go fishing. Fishing is, whoo! I love fishing. So fishing, video games, and those are pretty much my only hobbies. I don't have any other hobbies besides those. Languages, fishing, video. But if I'm not studying languages, I'm either playing video games with my friends, or going fishing with my cousins, my family, or my wife. So let's see. Okay, and then you ask, are you a martial artist? If so, what style do you practice and would you recommend it? I wish I was a martial artist. When I was younger, I always wanted to take martial arts, but growing up, I didn't really have the money. My family didn't have the money to help me get into like some martial arts school. But yeah, it would be great. But right now, I don't think I'll be able to do it. Like considering all the stuff I'm doing now, and I think I'm too lazy. I think I'm too lazy to take martial arts. So I don't think it's possible for me to actually do that at this time. Let's see. What do you consider to be your best and worst languages as far as ability, not preference? My worst languages? Well, I've already said my best languages would probably be Chinese, Japanese, Chinese, Japanese. Let's see. Chinese, Japanese, Korean. What other languages? My strongest languages. Dang, I don't know. I got so many languages. Let's see. My worst languages, I would say probably the ones I just started learning, pretty much. Let's see. Spanish, French, German, Italian. Yeah, those languages I haven't really studied that long. I just start learning. Those are pretty much my worst languages. But the one I have spent more time on, of course, they're my better languages. Let's see. Okay, do you feel comfortable with cases, or would you prefer a language without cases aside from basic ones, such as the nominative, or do you feel that languages are chaotic without them? You said you were studying Mongolian. Are you studying Khalkha? I love the like I don't like to study grammar, but I think it's fun to those languages with cases. I think they're fun, like Russian, German, those type of languages. I like those. So it doesn't matter to me, cases or not. I will still learn a language. I think it's pretty interesting to have something different. Mongolian, I will say Khalkha is the one I'm studying. That's the like national one, I believe. Khalkha. Okay, Mohammed Zero. How many hours in a day do you spend studying a language? Well, it depends. If it's one of the languages that I chose for the year, I try to spend at least 5 hours. I try to spend 5 hours on that language. But like if I don't have 5 hours, which is what's happening now, I don't have 5 hours, I'll use at least 3 hours to study that language. So when I will spend at least 5 hours or 3 hours, depending on how much time I have. But for my dabbling languages, I'll probably just do it for like maybe 30 minutes or an hour, not that long. The most an hour. So, let's see. Milutis, who is your hero? It doesn't even have to be a language based. Just the person who has inspired you the most. I have a hunch that it may be Bruce Lee, but I don't know for sure. Yep, Bruce Lee is my hero. Bruce Lee. I like Bruce Lee not just for his martial arts, but not just for his martial arts, but his philosophy and just him as a human being. I just like him. I like his character. So yeah, he's I will consider Bruce Lee my hero. Let's see, Andres, how many and which language can you speak advanced level fluently? Well, I would just have to say that I don't feel that I'm advanced in any of my languages. I don't know. I don't like this. Like I would say my Chinese and my Japanese, they're near like advanced, but like I would consider those like low advanced. My Chinese, Japanese would be considered low advanced, not like full advanced, but low. I'm almost advanced in those two languages, but I still have a lot to go, a lot more to learn, a lot ways to go before I can consider myself advanced with languages. But being low advanced is not really. I can't really consider it being like advanced. Like I have like some native speakers tell me that my Chinese is advanced or my Japanese is advanced, but I don't know. Just like I feel that I'm low advanced. I feel that I'm low advanced because I'm the only person that really knows my level and knows how much I'm able, I'm capable in the language. So I would say that I'm not advanced in any of my languages yet. But with a little bit more hard work, I think I'll be advanced in Chinese, Japanese, and perhaps some other languages. So, let's see. Let me see. Have you ever considered working as a translator for video games, manga, or anime? Yeah, I wanted to be a translator a long time ago. I wanted to do that. I also had a dream. I wanted to work for the United Nations, but like those I don't know, it changed. I don't want to do that. A long time ago, I wanted to do something like that, but I'm not really interested in doing translation and whatnot. Let's see, J Marsh 8822. Do you have dreams in different languages? If so, which ones and how often? This is pretty funny because most people say that in order to have dreams in languages, you have to be completely fluent. But the funniest thing is, like, I've had dreams in some worst languages, some of the languages I'm not even fluent in. Just I had some dreams that, I just having some basic conversation with someone, if you can count that. But like having a dream and told like having like an awe dream, like I had some like Chinese or Japanese. Yeah, I did. I have some dreams of Chinese, Japanese, and yeah, some other languages. Just some other languages that I'm not really fluent in. I had dreams in those as well. So yeah. Let me see. Okay, this is a funny question. Okay, I don't know how many videos you have put up on YouTube, but it's a lot. I think that's great, and I like your videos, but just out of curiosity, don't you ever find yourself thinking it takes a lot of time putting up all these videos on YouTube? I wonder if that time would have been better spent studying through course books instead. Yeah, you're right. I have a lot of videos. I have about 500 videos, 500 plus videos up, and you're right. A lot of it takes a lot of time. Like I take my time, take time out of my day to make these videos, and at the beginning, like I said before, I start making these videos basically for, trying to better my skill in the language, trying to get feedback from native speakers, and just, not only that, helping others and whatnot. Like that stuff takes time, but like as a hobby, language learning, I think is beneficial for this language learning, this language learning process. So I think it's very beneficial to do that. And like you said, I could be spending that time studying. I could, but again, this is very beneficial, and I've learned a lot over on YouTube. Over the past couple years, having making these videos, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from feedback, getting feedback from native speakers. I learned a lot. So yeah, it's definitely worth the time. I would say that. It seems like you often have quite long fingernails in your videos. May I ask the reason? Do you play the acoustic guitar or something? No. Yeah, my fingernails. Yeah, I get that a lot. Some people say I need to cut my fingernails. Actually, I do cut my fingernails, but my fingernails grow really, really fast. Like I think it's just hereditary. My dad and my grandfather, if you see their nails, they have very long fingernails, very, very long fingernails. I try to cut mine, but like I said, they grow back really quick. They grow back really, really quick. So there's no reason. It's just that they grow quick, and I get tired of cutting them. So let's see. Loki, say hello. Here are the questions. Loki, you've asked me quite a few questions here. Okay, so let's see. Hello, here are the questions. Why learn so many languages at the same time? Do you feel you have to rush to learn a language? Yeah, as I said before, I learn a lot of language because I guess you could say I'm crazy and it's a sickness. I'm obsessed with language learning, and whenever I find out something new about a language, I just want to learn. Like, I can't help it. If I meet someone on the street, I'm in the store, and if I notice that they're like foreign, they're from a different country, I always try to engage in a conversation with them. I'll ask them where they're from, and they tell me, and then I just get curious about the language. I get home, I go to either Omniglot or Wikipedia and look something up on the language, and then I find out where it's spoken, and I start getting resources, and I start learning the language because I think like this: I'm gonna meet somebody else like that again, and the next time I'm going to be able to have some conversations with them. So that's why I learned so many languages. And originally, like I told you guys before, I wasn't going to learn any other language besides Chinese. But walking around meeting all these people, it got annoying. Okay, it got annoying. I want to practice Chinese, and I'm meeting Koreans and meeting Japanese and Vietnamese, and I can't have any conversations with them unless they study Chinese. So that's why I start picking up so many languages. That's the main reason why I did it. The communication and speaking with people from different countries is great. It's just, there's nothing like that. And there's no rush. There's no rush to learn a language. I don't feel that there's a rush. But the reason why I choose a 3-month period time, because I know what I'm capable of as far as learning. I know that within 3 months I can learn a language to like an intermediate level, I can do that because I know what I need to do. I know it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. I know that, but that's what happens. I'm able to do that like within 3 months. So as long as I have the time, of course. But if after 3 months, if I feel that I haven't reached that, if I feel I haven't reached that level in that language, I will study it longer. I won't just throw it away and say forget this language. I will continue to study until I reach that intermediate level. Otherwise, we'll have wasted resources, wasted time. Well, I don't want to say wasted time because I enjoy learning the language process. But resources, why would you start on a language and not continue to study it when you buy all these resources for it? It doesn't make any sense. So there is no rush for learning a language. So let's see. Why study a few months, 2 or 3 months, a language and then jump to another language? I mean, why don't you do the same for Chinese? 2 or 3 years, the same language and get very high level? Because I tried to learn a language in 2 months, but what I can talk about is limited. Yeah, so like I said before, I just try to learn to at least an intermediate. And Chinese, the reason why I spent like 2 or 3 years learning Chinese first, because like I said, I didn't really start studying a whole bunch of languages until like maybe 2 or 3 years later. So Chinese was the only language I was really studying seriously. That was like the only language I was studying seriously. So that's why I like studied that longer. And let me see. Because I tried to learn language 2 months, yeah. And you will be limited, yeah. If you like, even if I do learn language to intermediate level, upper intermediate, I'm still gonna be limited. I'm limited in Chinese. I'm limited in Japanese, and those are my best languages. I'm still limited in those languages. There are certain things that I can't talk about. Despite having a pretty good level of communication, I'm still limited in those languages. There's still some limitations. So, I mean, it's just, yeah. I think if you don't want to have any limits in the language, I think the best level will probably be near native fluency, and I think you guys agree with me on that. Near native fluency is pretty much you got a pretty good grasp of the language, and you're not limited. But for me, my level, I'm not there yet. I have a ways to go. So, yeah, that's the answer to that question. Okay, another question from Loki. I always wonder why you want to learn so many languages. I mean, I cannot get an advanced level if I had to focus on 4 or 5 different languages at the same time. How do you manage to learn so many languages at the same time? Do you sometimes feel like limited in the language because you didn't get enough input? Yeah. So as I said before, you will be limited if you don't get your level up to a really, really high level. But again, it all depends on our goals. What are you trying to do with the language? Because we all have to set goals and have to look at the whole picture. Like for me, I know like my wife, she speaks Chinese as her native language, and my in-laws, all of them, they're speaking Chinese. So like it makes sense to try to get my Chinese level up higher. But like here in the U.S., like being with her, I can speak Chinese with her on a daily basis, but I don't think there's nothing like being able to use the language like every day in the environment, like being immersed in the environment, total immersion environment. I think that's the best thing. And hopefully I'll get a chance sometime in the future to go live over in Taiwan for at least a year or two, and I get to fully immerse myself using Chinese, and I could get my Chinese level up to a near native fluency level. But right now, having like a upper intermediate, low advanced level in Chinese, I'm pretty content with that because I can communicate. I can speak with my in-laws. They can't speak English. I can communicate with them. So like as long as I could do something like that for now, I'm pretty content. So let's see here. Yeah, so it all depends on our goals, whatever you want to do. So yeah, that's what it's all about, goals. It's all about goals. Okay, XX Daha Mona XX. Okay, what's your religion? Okay, I answered that before. Do you play video games? If so, what's your favorite game and console? Yes, I do. I am a video game fanatic. Oh yes, especially fighting games. I love fighting games. I love fighting games and RPGs. Okay, my favorite game. I would say my favorite fighter will be this game here, Tekken. My favorite fighter. The original. Okay, my favorite system. I don't know, cause I like Xbox and I like PlayStation. I like Nintendo Wii. I don't really have a favorite system. I play all these systems. I have every system here: Xbox, PlayStation 3, the Nintendo Wii, and some older systems. So I don't necessarily have a favorite system. I love to play all my systems. Some systems will collect dust. I don't play for a while, like my Wii. I haven't played Wii for a while, but I love all my systems. Okay, so when did you decide learning a lot of languages? So I decided to start learning a lot of languages after maybe 2 or 3 years after learning Chinese. That's when I started getting heavily into learning like all these languages. Yeah, maybe 2 or 3 years later, I started learning a lot more seriously. I had some resources, like I went to the library and got a whole bunch of books, but I didn't really start studying them. I just had them, and Chinese was the main one I started studying. And then after that was Japanese. So I was around 18, 19 when I first started learning Chinese, and I was around, I think it was about 20. You're about 20 when I started like learning a lot more languages, around that age. But it wasn't like the methods and the time schedules, whatnot. It was pretty sloppy. I didn't have like okay, I'm gonna study these languages for this amount of time and then do this. I didn't have that back in the day. It was pretty sloppy. It was all over the place. So when did you decide learning? Oh, how many languages have you learned? I don't want to say have I learned, but I like to say how many languages I'm learning. And I'll say about 50 languages total. Around between 40 and 50 languages I'm learning. I wouldn't say I've learned because I'm still learning. Okay. Let's see. What's the easiest language that you can speak aside from English? What's the easiest language that you can speak aside from English? The easiest language I can speak aside from English, I can speak, well, in terms of like fluency, Chinese, of course, because I studied that longer. I can speak Chinese, Japanese, let's see, Chinese, Japanese, Indonesian, because that's so easy. Indonesian, and what other languages? Yeah, those are probably my most fluent languages there, besides English. How old are you? I'm 29. I just turned 29. My birthday was March 12th. 29. I can't believe it. Okay. P.S. I'm a big fan of your work and intelligence, but I'm not a fan on YouTube. You know what I mean. I just subbed you. I don't know a lot about. Oh, where did you get your hat? I love it. Oh, my hat. I got this from the bait shop. I had a lot of them from the bait. Well, first, there's a hat that I haven't wore for a long time. Not this type. It looks the same, but it's a little different. I bought it from the bake shop, and then like I went back the following, like, what was it? 1 year I got it, went back to next year, and they didn't have that hat, so I got on eBay and did a search on fishing hats, and I ordered like maybe 5 or it's like 4 or 5 of these type of hats. Thanks. I love the hat. I love these type of hats. Let's see. Okay. Let's see, Cole Ziran. Okay, by the way, that was a genuinely curious. Oh, what was that? By the way, that was a genuinely curious question. I respect all your hard work in promoting the joy of learning language and helping people. Don't get me wrong. I'm just curious about your ultimate goals, I guess. Okay, you just responded to that. Okay, I second Loki's question. Why doesn't the idea of full, unlimited native-like proficiency in the second language appeal to you that much? I totally understand and appreciate your curiosity for languages of the world and how they all work, but why do you stop only halfway and then move on to something else? To quote Katsumoto's AJTT, don't you want knives that can actually cut? Yeah, like I just said, having native-like fluency, that's the best way to go if you don't want to be limited in language, to be honest. If you don't want to be limited in language, that's the best way to go. But as I was saying before, you have to look at the whole picture. Now, a person like me studying like 40, 50 languages, I'm not going to attain native-like proficiency in all those languages. Why? Because I won't be using them every day, and I don't have any intentions on going to the country. No intentions on going to the country, so I'm not going to spend all my time trying to get to a native-like proficiency and move on to another language the same when I'm going to have to maintain that level of proficiency that native like proficiency. You see, it's already hard enough maintaining like at least an intermediate level. That's already hard enough. But like once you get to a native like proficiency, if you don't use it every day and you studying other languages, it's going to be hard to keep up. It's pretty tough. So I think it's a good idea to attain a native like proficiency for if you, especially if you're a person studying like one or two languages. I'll say maybe one language. Let's say you're just studying Chinese. I will definitely strive to get to a native like proficiency, and I believe one can get to a native like proficiency in their own country. I think that's possible. It's very possible. It takes a lot of hard work, but it's possible to do that. So you could do that, and then do that. Go to the country, spend time over there. I mean, it just all depends on an individual's goals. But my goals here, like I have all these languages going on, and I'm trying to get to like that intermediate level, upper intermediate level. Once I get there, once I meet that goal, I'm happy. But again, like I said before, I'll be limited. And limited, it sucks being limited because you say, wow, I don't know, I don't understand that. It sucks being limited, but hey, that's just how it's going to be for now. Now, like I said, in the future, some possibilities may open up. I may get a chance to go live over in different countries or whatever the case is. Then I may be able to use all my languages and get them all on the native like fluency, native like proficiency. That would be great, but I don't see that happening right now. So yeah, that's a good quote. Don't you want knives that can actually cut? Yeah, I do. But right now, the only thing I got now, as far as that, I got butter knives. My butter knives, and I'm only cutting butter and cake right now. So let's see, Loki. Let's see. Loki, do you think your education system in the U.S. is well established? I mean, why do you guys pay so much for university studies? Here, it's like $1,000 a year, and they think it's too expensive. They want it to be free. Yeah, I talked about this before. Yeah, I think the education system is pretty. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's well established because it's just I don't know. Like, yeah, it's just not well established. And they don't see history. They don't really teach real history. They don't teach real history. They don't teach they just don't teach real stuff. Like, all they do is they teach you this stuff to get you, you spend this time in school, get your credit, get your degree, and then go work and be part of the system. I mean, that's how I look at it. They don't teach you real stuff. Like, they have some stuff that's real, but they don't teach you the real deal. Like, I'm trying to get to the meat and potatoes. I'm not trying to be beating around the bush out here. And I feel that that's what the educational system is doing. Like, it's just not doing a really good job. I think the best education is at home, having very well educated parents that know real history, just that know the real stuff, and just get homeschooled. I think that's the best thing. So yeah, that's just my opinion. That's what I think about it. Do you think your government care about the citizens? Why are the hospital bills so? It's incredible for us Europeans. To be honest, I don't think they do care. I don't think they care about the citizens. I don't. And like I said before, I don't like to really try to get into talk about this stuff, but yeah, I don't think so. I don't have anything against the United States, but maybe they should change and improve their social system. Yeah, I know you don't have anything against the United States. It is what it is, man. It doesn't mean that you're anti-American, because like people, my views on a lot of things here, a lot of people, they think I'm anti-American. I'm not anti-American. It's just what it is. It is what it is. And I mean, people don't want to accept the truth, so they will look at you as anti-American because you don't agree with everything that's going on. I'm sorry. Okay, another question from Loki. Man, how many questions you got, bro? Okay, I forgot to ask something. Do you often meet people who are motivated to learn so many languages just like us? Most of the time, just focus on European languages. Have you already met someone who truly wants to learn a language from each continent? Africa, Asia, America, Oceania, or very rare. I don't meet many people like that, like myself and you and others who are wanting to learn all these other languages. Is very rare because especially here in the U.S., it's really bad here because people think you crazy. They think you insane. They think why you want to learn that? That language is useless. So here in the U.S., definitely not. But on the internet, I met some people. They talk about learning all these different languages, but in person, I've never really met someone as crazy as I am. Wanting to learn all these different languages. I just in the U.S. It's probably just the U.S. But in other countries, I'm pretty sure there are other people out there like that. But here in the U.S., no way. We got too many closed-minded people here. They're a lot of arrogance, and they don't believe that they should learn the languages. But like, I don't blame them because I think it's the system. The system has an effect on them. I think it's another thing in the system. With the system, they have an effect on the way people think here. So yeah, I don't meet people on a normal basis. Let's see. Okay, Zeno 126. Hi Lao Shu, my question is this: what do you think is the limit on the amount of languages that a person can learn while still being able to retain a high level of fluency in any of the given languages that they speak? Do you think it's possible to be able to speak with at least moderate fluency over 50 languages? Do you think 20 is the limit? Or do you believe that if you use them all on a near daily basis that the human mind is capable of retaining unlimited amounts of information? Yeah, this is pretty much similar question as before, but you know what? People really sleep on the human brain, on the capabilities. Yeah, I don't think there's a limit to language learning. I think it all boils down to daily using them on a daily basis. You can get I believe one could be native fluency like in probably more than 50 languages, but it will be hard. But they will have to be in an environment where those languages are spoken like every day. But being in your own country and learning all of them to you native fluency in 50 languages, and you never been over to the country, you just in your own country studying languages, it's not going to happen unless there's some exception where you have all these people around and you can speak to them every day. Probably not, if not every day, almost every day. So I think the human mind is capable of retaining limited amounts of information. It's yeah, definitely can do it. With language learning is very practical, and you have to use it every day or almost every day in order to retain all of that stuff. It's tough, but I think it's possible. Let's see. Let me see. What is it? CK. Okay, CK86. Are you interested in the cultures and languages you learn, or just in communication with people? Do you read books in foreign languages, for example, classics? Let's see. Japanese. Yeah. I don't know what that is. I don't know how to. Yeah. I think culture. I am into the culture because when you learn a language, that is part of the culture, and there are certain aspects of the culture you have to learn when learning a language. You can't just learn a language, learn words and just go speak with people right away. You have to know how to approach people, know how to use certain words with certain people in that culture. So I think learning languages and learning how to use language in certain scenarios, I think that's culture. That's part of the culture. But like deep history and whatnot, I don't really do history right now. That takes a lot of time itself. I think it's very interesting. I just touch on just a little bit of it, but I don't really study the history as much as I study the language. But the culture part is very important. You have to know the culture to a certain extent, because you can't, like I said, you can't just go get books and learn the words and then just go start speaking with people right away in the way that you would like to speak. You have to learn how to actually use certain words in certain scenarios. So yeah, I think the culture is important. Let's see. Wow, are you serious? I got up there that quick? So Ryu Nordican, this is Lagoda-san. Aside from your method of learning, which does work, how can one become more motivated and enjoy learning a language more without spending a large amount of money on books, music, etc. with limited time? Yeah, you can. I think it's very motivating. See, this is why I like speaking the language right away. 1 second. This is why I like speaking the language right away. And like I said before, I know it's sloppy. I know it's real sloppy at first and some mispronunciations, but this is why I like speaking the language right away, because it's very motivating. It's very motivating for me to have like some basic conversation with native speakers, at least saying something to them and they say something back to me and I'm able to understand, and they get surprised and they commend you, and seeing not only being commended, but seeing their face like that the expressions on their face, how surprised they'd be just to see you go out of your way to learn their language. That's very motivating. They're happy and they want to talk with you more. I mean, that's very motivating. It makes you want to learn more. That's why I like to start speaking right away, and I will advise more people to start speaking right away. You will see that when you do that, I mean, you will be limited. You're going to be limited, and you're not going to understand everything, but you get to use everything you learned. Like, you get to use that stuff and give them an impression. You may not be perfect, but you know, they will respect you, and they give you, and it's just, I can't even explain it. It's a good thing. And that's what motivates me. When I speak with someone for the first time, whatever the case, whatever, how much I know in the language, doesn't matter. They look at me and they ask me, "Oh, where'd you learn it?" Even if it's a couple phrases, they ask where you learn it from, and they start getting, wanting to exchange numbers and stuff. And that's very motivating. It motivates you to learn more about the language. So, like, spending a large amount of money. So if you don't have time, you have limited time, I would say, if you have an iPod, I'm pretty sure you have an iPod. If you have an iPod, I would download, and you learn Japanese, I would download certain things, like Japanese content, music, or whatever. You can download podcasts and just listen to them as much as you can. And that's part of input. That's part of input. And you can carry around I'll say like a Japanese magazine or something. Just look at it, or a phrase book, or whatever it is. You can, read that. Just look at it for a couple, like maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and listen. And when if you can find an hour when you get home, go to a chat room and try to practice Japanese with the native speaker. You can also find people. If you go to an area, if you know there are Japanese people around, just try to go up to them and engage in a conversation. That stuff. Like, if you don't have time to, like, 5 hours to sit down and study, and don't have the money to spend on like large amount of books and whatnot, you don't necessarily have to. There are actually a lot of resources online you can use, and a lot of a lot of places to practice the language. So yeah, you can do that stuff, but I would advise you not to be scared and try to speak more Japanese with the native speakers, because like I said, it's very motivating. It's very motivating. You keep doing that, and eventually you'll be speaking the language well. So let's see. Do you use authentic content from day one? What do you think of simplified books? What question about language learning do you get asked the most from people who are not familiar with polyglots? And what is your answer? What's your opinion on mute English, as can be found in Japan very often, when people are able to read and write perfectly on a very high level, but are not able or willing to speak at all? So authentic content. When I first started learning Chinese, no, I didn't use authentic content. And I think my biggest problem from the beginning, I had realized maybe a year later, was my understanding. Like, I found that I was limited on understanding certain things, and I think that was because of the input. I didn't. It's kind of weird. Like, I didn't really study Chinese like that. Like, I studied, but it wasn't like serious input. It wasn't serious input. Basically, it was just experience. I learned, like, I took phrase books and just put some words together. I listened to some audio there, here and there, but not as seriously. And I just put stuff together, and I just used it with the native speakers. I just kept doing that every day. And then when they said stuff to me, I would write it down. And I just learned from that experience, and it just built up. But I think it's very important to use authentic content. And I started realizing that from when I got on YouTube. That's why I say I learned a lot from YouTube, meeting other polyglots and whatnot, seeing what their methodology is. And like, Steve Kaufman, like, talking about using like the content and all that stuff. I didn't really take that approach at the beginning, but now I am. I'm learning now to take that approach. So I think the authentic content, that stuff is really good. It's really good to do that. So what questions about language learning do you get asked the most from people who are not familiar with polyglots? The most question I get, people ask me, they ask me how many, this is probably the most asked, how many languages do I speak fluently? That's probably the most asked question. And like I always tell them, I say, you know what? I say my languages, all my languages are all on different levels, and I'm pretty conversational in a lot of language I study. That's my response. Because let's see, what is your name? Okay, mute English. Yeah, I noticed that too. I know a few people, they can write really well, but when you hear them speak, they don't really speak well. And this goes right, this goes back to what we were talking about before, like, getting out in the battlefield, using that stuff and not being scared. A lot of them are scared to use it. They're scared to use it. That's why they can write really well, and it appears that, wow, English really well. But when you talk with them, then it's like, man, this doesn't add up. This doesn't add up. But I think I don't know, like, if they can read and write perfectly on a very high level, and that's all they want to do, then if that's their goal, hey, more power to them. I'm not going to say, wow, you're half learning the language. I mean, it's a pity that they can't speak at all. But if they don't want to speak, that's them. If that's their goal, I respect that. So that's all I can say about that. A man knows why. Let's see. Why is it, in your opinion, that American polyglots often don't learn Spanish to a decent level, having excellent opportunities given to them to do so? What is, in your opinion, the difference between achieving great results or high levels of expertise in science like math and foreign language learning? Is it a sheer amount of vocabulary you need to learn first to get started? Let's see here. I don't understand your question. Why is it, in your opinion, that American polyglots often don't speak or learn Spanish to a decent level? From what I've learned, I think most of the American polyglots, those who learn Spanish, they learn Spanish really well. I don't know if I understand your question there. Difference between achieving great results or high. I think, yeah, my opinion about that, I think it's great to achieve great results when you set your goals. Because if going back to setting goals, if your goal is to reach an intermediate level, and you reach that, your time after the time you reach that level, then I think that's a great achievement, because that was your goal. You set your goal for that. So yeah, and high level expertise in science like math. And I think, yeah, math and science, I'm weak. See, that's one of my weak subjects there, math. And I'm thinking about teaching myself math. I'm starting from scratch. I talked with a buddy of mine the other day. We talked about that. First, he said he wanted to start all over teaching himself math, and I think that's what I'm going to do, because, like I said, the system, I think, like, the math being taught in school, I think that's not enough. And me growing up, I didn't have like a family, growing up with family who, very educated family, very good at math and whatnot. So that I basically had to go to school to learn math, and that's not enough. That's inadequate. So that's why I'm not really good at math. I will blame it on the system. But I think anyone can be good. It's just that math is just like language. It's practical, and you have to have, like, it's just very practical, and you have to have, like, good methodologies for learning the math. So I think it's important to have high skills in math and science. I think it's that, yeah, math, especially math. So let's see, is it the sheer amount of vocabulary you need to learn first to get started? And, well, the sheer amount of vocabulary, yeah, in the end, that's what it is. Like, all vocabulary. Because you have to have a lot of vocabulary to be able to speak the language pretty adequate. So, I think I went over 21 questions. I think that's going to be it. I'm going to wrap it up. It's about 40 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and upload this video, and let's see here. I stopped at min nose. So yeah, I'll be able to finish up the rest of these questions this week. So yeah. I hope I answered you guys' questions thoroughly, and yeah, it was fun, and let me know what you guys think. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, and I'll be posting it up, and talk to you guys soon.